In this presentation, we will record the purchase of furniture with cash. In other words, the furniture is going to be a type of property, plant, and equipment or depreciable assets. It's going to go on the books as an asset as opposed to being expensed at the point of purchase. We may need to set up a new account to put that furniture into and then record the financial transaction related to it. Time to rage against paper spreadsheets with Sage Cloud Accounting. Here we are in our Get Great Guitars file. We're currently in the customer and sales section. Now we're going to be going down to the purchases and vendors and purchases section. So we are purchasing property, plant, and equipment. Just note that although we can use some of these forms down here, the purchasing of equipment is something that doesn't happen like all the time. It's not one of those normal type of transactions. And remember that anything that's a normal type of transactions, these forms are designed to deal with. If it's something that we do every day, we purchase something every day. Like inventory, if we make normal kind of purchases during the day, these forms are typically designed to deal with those types of purchases. Large purchases of property, plant, and equipment are something we may often do when we first start the organization. We enter the initial capital investment as we did last time, use it possibly to buy something like the property, plant, and equipment, the large scale items, or when we're increasing. Therefore, note that it's not something that these forms are designed to do, and if we were to finance the equipment, which is often the case, then again, that's not something that these are designed to do. In other words, if we were going to purchase it not just for cash, but also have a financing option for it. So a couple different options we can use to record the purchase. We can use, of course, a check. We can enter the check to record the purchase if we purchased it with a check, or we can use the enter bills and then pay bills if it's going to go through the accounts payable type of section. Enter the bills, increase in the bills, and then pay the bills. Or we might want to enter it directly into the register if it's something that's coming right out of our checking account. If it's coming right out of the checking account, maybe we just go right to the register. And that's what I'll do here. So if I want to go right to the register, then I could go to the banking tab on the left-hand side. And I'm going to say, I just want to enter this right into the check register. You could also, of course, use a journal entry, but I would probably not deal with a journal entry. Now, if you want to write a check, notice you could write the check and then think about it if you need to print the check from the system. I'm going to, suppose it was an electronic transfer in some way and I need to enter it into the register. So then I'm going to go, okay, let's go into the account register once again. I want to make sure that I'm in the checking account. So let's go into the checking account. I'm going to maximize this. I want to put this for the entire year so I could see the entire year's worth of data. I'm going to put this in the books as of 01/10/20. And this is going to be a payment this time. So we want a payment. The reference number is going to be, I'm going to put an E just for an electronic transfer. So it's not a check. So we don't have a check number and it's not going to be a deposit. So I'll put an E there. We're going to put the payee. We're going to say it's going to be paid by, or the payee is going to be Office Depot. Depot. So we'll set up the Office Depot. Now, as we add the Office Depot, I do want to set this one up as a vendor here. So I want to pick this one up as a vendor. So I'm going to select the drop down and I'm going to say I want new. And so notice we're adding a vendor basically as we go here. So we're adding the vendor as we go. This is someone that we are paying. And I'm going to set this up and I'm just going to say Office Depot up top in the required field. And then I'm going to put Office Depot down here as well. Now, I'm not going to populate the rest of the field. We talked about, the other fields that are involved that you could populate, which you might want to do with your major vendors, but with like the phone company or something like that, you may not populate all this. Now, note, they do have the expense account. This would be the default expense account, and normally when we go to Office Depot, it would be something like office supplies and expense. However, this time we're purchasing something large, and therefore it's going into furniture and fixture. So I'm going to put the default account to something like office expense down here, even though that's not what I want to use it for this time. So I'm looking for other office expense. Let's pick that one up. And then I'm going to say, all right, let's save that. That looks good. Let's go ahead and save that. And then I'm going to close this out. And now we should be picking the vendor. It should show up in our list here. So I'm going to be picking up the vendor Office Depot. Now the GL account, I want to pick the GL account. This time it's going to be an assets type of account as opposed to an expense because it's a large purchase. So we're going to put it on the books as an asset. If we're looking for the asset account, we only have equipment here instead of what I'd like is a furniture type of account. So I want it being the same group of the fixed assets, but this time a furniture type of account. So I could say, okay, I'm going to make a new account down here. This time I'm going to add a new account as we go once again. So we're going to add a new account as we go. I believe the last account number was 15. So that's going to be the account number they had here was 15. So let's make it 1510. And then tab, description, I'm going to say furniture. So I'm going to call it furniture, and then the account we want is going to be a fixed asset type of account. So it's going to be a accumulated depreciation account. We want a fixed asset type of account. So I'm going to be picking the fixed asset type of account. I'm not going to be putting in any beginning balances. We're not going to touch that anymore because we're done with that. That was in the first section. So I'm going to save that. And there we have it. And we're going to close this back out. So let's close this back out. And so now we should be able to pick this account, that being our furniture. So there's the furniture. It's a fixed asset type of account. So there we have that. The memo is going to see purchase. I'll just say, and then the payment is going to say the 16,000. We're going to say it costs 16,000. So I'm going to enter that in the system, and that is it. So let's go ahead and save that. So we'll save that. That's okay. And that brings the balance down to the 124,000. Now, it put it up above because these are two transactions that are on January 10th, but it brought the balance down to that 124,000. Let's take a look at the financial statements just to see it on the financials. What's going to happen to the financials? So I'm going to open up the financials. I'm not sure I had it open before. Let's go to the reports drop down and go to the financial statements. And we're going to be looking at the balance sheet. That's the only one that will be affected. Once again, I'm going to select a drop down, range, January. That's what I want. And then we're going to say OK. And there's our report. And then we're going to go down to the property, plants, and equipment. There's our 16,000 in the furniture. So there is that. The other side, of course, coming out of the checking account. So we're going to say, all right, the checking account is up top. Going into the checking account, opening that up. We see the other side decreasing on the 16,000 on that side. So that looks good. We're going to do this again now. Let's check this out again. Let's add another one. So I'm going to go back over here. Now this time let's use a form. Let's use like a check type of form. So I'm going to go back over to our home page. We're going to go into, I'll go into the banking section. And then I want to take a look at just a check. Let's just say we're going to have a new check. We're going to be writing a check in this format. And we're going to say the vendor this time, it's going to be Amazon. So I'm going to say the drop down. I want to make another vendor, which I'm going to say down here is the new. I'm going to say new. And we'll pick up another vendor. It's going to be Amazon as the vendor. So we'll open this up. And I'm going to say that we have Amazon. Amazon is going to be the name. I'm going to copy that. And that's going to be also down here. And then again, the default account for Amazon, probably office supplies again, even though this time we're putting it into an asset account. So I'll probably want the default account then to be just simply office supplies expense. So I put other office expense down here before. Probably office supplies is probably more appropriate, but I'll keep that one there. And so then I'm going to say save, and then I'll close this one. And then we should be able to find Amazon in our drop down. So I'm going to be picking up Amazon. And then we got the address field, so on and so forth. I'm not going to input that here. Check number, I'm going to say 1010. And then the date is going to be 011120. Now, if we're going to print this check out of the system, we'd still have external checks that we'd have to put into the register and print them from there. So we'd still have basically the external checks. We're going to say the amount is 7,000, and it's going to come out the payment method. Now note, you can change the payment method here, right? So even though we're using the check form, you could just say it's going to be cash. So if it wasn't a check, you could say cash, and then you wouldn't have the check number, right? Amex, Discover, and so on and so forth. I'm going to keep the check form here. We're going to say that we've got the cash account. That's the one that we want, right? That's our checking account. And then now the other account is going to the office supplies, because that's what we put as the default for Amazon. But this is kind of actually the exception, because this is the time we purchase something from Amazon that we want to be putting into the fixed asset type of account. So it's going to go into furniture. So I'm going to scroll back up. We're going to be picking this up into the furniture. We're going to be picking this back up top. There it is, the 1510. So that's the account we want to be going to for this particular transaction. So that looks good. We're going to go ahead and save this. So I'm going to save this transaction up top. Note that if you needed to print it, you'd actually have to print the checks. You can go to the print item up top and you have the print preview and the select checks to print. So you can go in here to have the select checks to print. And again, you'd have to put the actual checks into the printer to go through to the printing process. So now I'm going to close this back out, and let's take a look at our financial statements again. So back on into our financial statements, which is going to be our balance sheet. And then we're going to be updating this. So let's just refresh it to make sure it's all freshened up. We only look at fresh reports there. And we're going to go into the checking account. If I go into the checking account, there's the Amazon. There's the 7,000. Double clicking on it, that takes us to the actual form, being the check form that we used. So I'm going to close this back out. Then I'm going to close this back out. Also note if I go back in there, I'm going to go back in one more time. And then the other one, the 16,000, if I open this one up, it's going to take us to the register. So it's taking us to the actual data input source, that being the register in this case. So I'm going to close this back out. I'm going to close this back out. And then the other side is going to be going to the furniture. So if we open up the furniture, then we have our two transactions within the furniture as well, the 23,000 being the total at this time. So that's going to be it for now. No effect on the income statement, by the way. Nothing that's happening to the income statement yet because we didn't expense it. When will it be going to the income statement? When we depreciate it in the form of depreciation expense. That'll happen when we do the adjusting entries. We'll talk about that at a later point. That's going to be it for now. Let's get out of here.